Hi guys, good afternoon. I am just reaching out to you guys with our schedule for what we did during our school day. I know you guys pretty much know what we did, but I want to kind of talk to you guys about what you can expect as new teachers and what the kiddos would, might benefit from in a classroom that is also their home. So when we started our day, we would all come in and we would have about 15 minutes of what we called enrichment, but it was really just playtime. It was when we could talk to the kids, kind of figure out what their day was going to look like, what happened, did they get breakfast? Are they tired? Are they grumpy? Are they anxious? And that gauged our day on our expectations so that we didn't feel like we had to push them into something they were not ready for. Because I know when I have something on my plate, if I have to do something, one, it's not going to be quality. Two, I'm not going to have a good time doing it. And we just didn't want the kiddos to not like school. Our goal is to always have them love it and always feel like they can talk to us if we needed it. So that was really good for us to have as like educators and just kind of leaders and role models. If you have a bad day, you talk to them about it and you let them know what the expectation is. So we wanted to give them that opportunity also. Around 8:40, we had everything kind of cleaned up and we were at the calendar for our morning meeting. We were at the carpet sitting crisscross applesauce and we were just kind of talking about what our day was going to look like. We would do calendar, we would do our days of the week, and then we would do months of the year. Following that, we would talk about our routine. So we would talk about our schedule for the day. So that way, kiddos were kind of front loaded with what to expect throughout their day so that they knew no matter what, that it was coming to an end. And I think that's really important to know if you're working hard on something and you're like, I would rather pass away than do this right now. As long as you know that there is an end and you can work hard and you can push through, I think that's really important. So talking about the routine, trying to keep it as similar as you can, but also just being open to knowing that kiddos do really rely on that routine. And that was something that we really cherished as teachers too. Following calendar, we would do morning work. And the morning work was just the name on that little sheet that I sent out home to you guys. It was the 100, counting to 100 or writing to 100, writing your first and last name 2 times, and then the alphabet lowercase letters. And it just kind of depends. We did that for 15 to 20 minutes. With that being said, it wasn't an expectation that everyone needed to get done everything in that morning work, like in that morning worksheet. However, if they worked for that amount of time, I felt confident that they could get done what they needed to get done for their developmental ability. Does that make sense? So if I have there might be a kiddo that finishes it in 6 minutes. It's not super appropriate to make him sit there for the next 15, but it is important for him to practice patience and he can work on something else. What I did too is I had them trace it with crayon. That kind of works a smaller fine motor ability if they had worked hard on it already. My expectation was that your things need to be really nice. I did not care if you got it all done, but your job is to really work on those fine motor skills and those little muscles in your hands and working hard to sit up and look like a writer and a learner. So like not slouching down in your chair, not hustling through your work, doing it in order and doing a nice quality job so that your brain can grow and that first grade is easier for you. After that, we went to the carpet again and we did phonics, and the phonics aspect of it was the sound out words, talking about new sight words, the ABCs, maybe doing some rhyming, some segmenting or blending, which means I would say cat, and then I would expect them to finish my word by saying cat, or I would say something like sound out my word, and I could say map, and they would say app, map. So that's kind of what that means. And I would do maybe 3 or 5 words and try, just kind of like get them to practice and get their brains ready to blend those sounds because that can be really difficult. The next thing that I would do is we would do sentences, and that is kind of like what's behind me. That sentence on the wall says, they play blank at recess, and it's backwards. But the idea is they're learning the sight words. They're practicing the uppercase finger space period at the end of in all the sentences. A good sentence has those 3 things. And then they are practicing making sentences on their own too. So they might say, they play tag at recess, or they play on the slide at recess. Does that make sense? So I kind of just did 2 sentences like that. I understand that you guys do not have that capacity at your home. They can always make their own sentence with sight words. So a good game that I would play potentially is setting out maybe 5 of those sight word flashcards, and they could pick one and say, oh, tell me a sentence with that word in it. And they could make the sentence. Does that make sense? It's not too hard, but it's just something to get their brain moving. After that, we would go outside for running PE, and this is important because we have had about an hour of brain time, and we need to make sure that we are always transitioning into moving and being kinetically involved here because they're little. So they would run 3 laps with cubes. So they would count the cubes, and every time they ran a lap, they would subtract 1 until they had 0, and then they would be done. Then they had about 15 minutes to play outside on the playground by themselves. Super easy. After that, we would come in, I would read a story at about 10. At about 10:15, we would start our small group stations, and that ran about 18 minutes for 4 groups. So it ran for about an hour and a half, a little bit less than that, but the transition time was heavy. During those small group sessions, we worked on the ELA, so the English Language Arts, and that was the writing packets that I sent home with you guys, the alphabet, the reading, so any books that I sent home with you guys. I do choral reading and I read aloud. I do it, we do it together, and then they do it by themselves. So that is a good way to practice reading. So if the sentence is, they play tag at recess, I'm going to read it first, then we are going to read it together, and then they're going to try to read it by themselves. The idea is that sight words are not sound out words, and that the CVC words with 3-letter sounds, consonant, vowel, consonant, are sound out words. So maybe the word see and the word I and am are not sound out words, but the word map is a sound out word. Those stations ran. There were 3 academic stations in there for 18 minutes in small groups, and the other station was snack. I would suggest, if you are doing a one-on-one setting, to only do about 10 minutes and then give your kiddo a break. What I also would suggest is maybe laying out that schedule. So saying station 1 is 10 minutes of work with your grown-up. Station 2 is choice. So then they figure out what they want to do for that second station. Because then they have something to work for. So do your brain time and then you get a reward. That usually works pretty well. So if you're gonna do that, I would do 10 minutes of hard work, free choice, and then come back maybe 15 minutes later and do 10 more minutes or whatever they really need to get their brain moving, and then do something different after that. But making sure to lessen that intervention time, that time in academics, because in a one-on-one setting, they have much more, the ratio is so much smaller compared to small group, where it takes a longer time for me to give them that same one-on-one attention because I have 6 other kids in that group. Does that make sense? With that being said, we had our schedule ran for eating. 8:15 to 8:30 was breakfast. About 10:30 or 10:15 to about 11:15 was snack. So that kind of intermixed in the station schedule. So that's when we ate snack. And then we had lunch at 12:25. And they typically got their food at about 12:35 because they're waiting for kindergarten. So that was our food schedule. So after stations, we went straight to recess, and then we came back in for lunch. Then they went to recess for about 20 minutes outside with their friends. After that, we came in, we did math together at the carpet, and that included counting to 100 by ones, and they're not super fond of that. I let them lay on the ground, I let them take their shoes off, I let them relax, as long as they're physically counting out loud and making their brain work super hard. That's where that number chart came in handy. I counted for them, or pointed, or the math person pointed to each dot, and they were having that one-on-one coordination and correspondence. I will post a video later on of me doing the one-to-one correspondence so that your kiddo can practice their counting to 100. Further, we would count to 100 by tens, and that would look like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then that was over. It was super fast. They really like that. And then after that, we would have 20 minutes of small group intervention time. So that means that I only worked with 6 kids at a time for 20 minutes. So I copied your guys' math books in that packet, and I put suggestions in there on how far you should get per week, because I didn't work with each group every day. I kind of rotated, so I would work with one group on Monday, and then Mrs. R or Marissa would work with that same group the next day. And then they rotated so that each kid got a different teaching style, and that each kiddo had different times and expectations. So they knew that if they worked with me on Monday and Marissa on Tuesday, then they get a break on Wednesday. And that was really important, and that allowed us to really target what the kiddos need during that math time. With that being said, again, I would suggest only 10 minutes of math. If you're doing one-on-one and you're sitting with your kiddo and you're working hard with them, that's what I would suggest doing. Just 10 minutes, work hard, get it out of the way, look like a learner, sit up straight, hold your pencil the right way, get those good muscles, those little muscles practicing with those fine motor skills, because when they get older and they're writing those essays, their hands are not going to want to be tired one paragraph in. So get those fine motor skills working, practice that pencil grip the right way, practice putting your elbow into your body and hold your hand on the paper so that you can do a good job when you're writing. Lastly, I think I want to suggest, so then after that we would get ready to go home, which was great. The best part, obviously. Anyways, and then I have a couple suggestions. I would suggest getting, or if you have a little whiteboard, that is a really good way to have kiddos just practicing their letters, their alphabet. It's not, you don't have to throw it away. It's reusable every single day. If you don't have a little whiteboard, I also use a plain white piece of paper in one of those little plastic sleeves, and that works as a whiteboard marker also. So if you have the expo markers, that is a really good way to make a little makeshift whiteboard, or they can kind of carry it around. If you want to put it on a clipboard, that's a really good idea, but they love that, and it's kind of like a little treat. When I do use those things, I have a little sock, like an old sock, and they just erase it with that. You can also use like Clorox wipes, Lysol wipes, whatever you want to do. When they do get dirty, I would not suggest having the kiddos use those wipes on their own. I do not think that's a good idea, but full disclosure, we're great. If you have a whiteboard, or if you have access to a bigger whiteboard and you're feeling like you want to put it on your wall, the only recommendation that I would give you is making sure that you have something behind that whiteboard so that it does not get dirty on the wall. I put up a little whiteboard in my classroom a couple months ago, and within 2 weeks, the kids weren't doing it on purpose, but they would slip or they would play and the wall was a disaster. It was so messy and it just looked really dirty. So I just put up contact paper behind it and then put the whiteboard back up, and it was very easy. The littler whiteboards though gives them the opportunity to take it outside. They can draw what they see. So you take it outside and draw me something that's green, and they can draw the trees or the grass, or take this outside and draw me something that's yellow. They can draw the flowers or the pot that's that's holding the flowers, or the lawn chair or whatever, or the cars that they're seeing go back and forth. I'm not saying to go out socially, but I am saying, or maybe they can sit and watch out the window or do something that gives them time to think about that. So those are my suggestions, just to kind of keep rocking and rolling. Another suggestion is, if you have those clear sheets that you can put things in, like those little binder sheets, the clear sleeves, you can put any worksheet that I have given you in those clear sheets, and that makes it easy for the kiddos to just write on them and then erase it and use it again the next day. So you don't have to worry about them using one of those morning worksheets and then having to throw it away, because that's such a bummer. If you do it with the clear sleeve, they can reuse it and erase it daily, and then they always have something accessible for them. I love doing that. Typically I use a laminator for that kind of stuff, but those clear sleeves are super cheap. They're very easy. They're easy to get a hold of. They're not out of stock right now. So if you can get your hands on one of those, that would be a good idea. So just to recap, our meals, as for meals, it was about 8:15 to 8:30 for the first meal of school. Then it was snack at about 10:30, if we're going to round it out, lunch at 12:30, and then we would do math and go home. I would suggest light, short intervals of intervention and instruction, especially because it's just you there, and then always providing something for them to look forward to afterward is a very good idea to keep them motivated and keep them on track. That's why we did all the recess and all the good stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I really hope that you get to go have fun with your friends and play. You've earned it. You've worked hard, but you have to keep going because the time is not up yet. I would also suggest maybe a little timer if you have one on your phone, or you can pull one up even on the microwave or something would be great. So kiddos know, like, you only have 6 more minutes of working hard. I know that you can do it. Things like that are just simple things that really keep kiddos on track. And that's stuff that I use in the classroom that you guys can translate to home easily. Off the top of my brain, I don't think I have any other things to give you guys right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments or message me on Remind. My email is kfreeze, so it's KFREEZE at Yreka, so it's YREKA, USD.net. So you guys can message or email or call anytime, no problem whatsoever. Please remember that we do have meals going out and meals available. There are 4 pickup spots as far as I know on today. So today's March 20th. As far as I know, they had that yesterday and they're going to continue to have that. I will let you know if that changes by any means. It might change with the shelter in place order from the governor that we got last night. I'm not totally sure. I feel just as out of the loop as you guys, but I'm just trying to keep moving forward and working hard. So I hope you guys are all doing super great. You're doing awesome. Set those expectations and boundaries, and please give your littles a big squeeze for me. All of us teachers from Evergreen miss you guys so much. And I cannot express how badly I want to be with you. I cannot wait for the routine to get back to normal. I am also a routine-y, so I'm ready for that to happen. Anyways, until next time, keep in touch and stay updated. And I love you guys. Thank you for listening.